Thank you to the 9 people who are joining us and listening. This has been such a talented class. I've been really stunned by just the rigor, the level of the writing. I'm in a graduate program right now, and the work that I've read in this class from these students rivals that of my classmates. Just really, really impressive group. And it's been a thrill to teach them, and really excited to have this last class to celebrate their work. And I really hope to have the pleasure to teach them in the future. For those who might not know, the Muse Writer Center is a nonprofit. We have a really robust youth program, which includes the fellowship. Many of the students in this class are a part of that fellowship. We offer students up to a year of free creative writing classes and one-on-one mentorship. It's really great and fun community. And we also, this past session, offered all of our youth classes completely discounted, and we're going to continue to do that, which is great because we want everyone who wants to take a class to be able to. Anyway, enough of that. We've spent too much time trying to set this up. I am going to introduce each reader, and then they are going to just read from their own work a piece of prose or poetry. Encourage all of you to, I'm not sure if everyone has this ability, but if someone reads something that touches you, or there's a line you like, particularly, unfortunately, we're not in a room, so I'm trying to mimic that as much as possible. Feel free to get in the chat and share what you liked about it. Great. So to kick us off, Ethan, whenever you're ready. And Ethan doesn't have his video on just because of some other thing, so he is here, I think. Ethan?
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Ethan. Go for it.
So, like Remy said, I do not have my camera on because I have a very bad stomach bug right now. So, if I sound sick, that is why. But I'm very excited to be reading with everyone today. This is a short story I wrote called Ambivalence. I killed him because I loved him. I killed him because I hated him. I'm a liar. I lie to myself even as I sit here staring at a dead body. Pale skin, pale eyes, teeth gone, soul gone. He's dead and I killed him. I meant to kill him. I did it on purpose. I meant to kill him. I planned to kill him. I am a murderer. There's something so fickle about life, I had come to realize. Beautiful, yet fleeting, because truly there is no life without death. What is the significance of living without the threat of dying? This is what I told myself every time I felt the pulse of his skin against mine, when I felt the bruise blossoming under my eye, when I felt the fragile bone of my inner thigh break like my heart the first time he hit me. Without the threat of death, without it hanging so delicately on the cusp of forever slumber, I reasoned there would be no significance to living. He stared at me in a masquerade of blood. The gun was limp in my hand, a cold chunk of metal that had saved my life by ending his. I didn't know if I killed him because I loved him, or if I killed him because I hated him, and that was the worst part. I hated him for what he was, but I loved him for what he could have been. When I so carefully aimed the gun as he slept, I couldn't help but pray for his survival. Not the parts that I hated, only that I loved, as if the bullet was a priest's baptism of merit, cleansing him of the ugly blackness that had soiled his soul. I did this, I soon realized, to justify my crime. I wasn't killing him, I was healing him. I was healing the world. I healed my heart by stopping his. I couldn't look at his body. I didn't want to. Only brisk glances out of the peripheral of my eye revealed the scene I had procured with a shaky hand and bloody paint. He lay solemn in the bed, encapsulated in a once temporary but now eternal slumber. He stared at me, his eyes unclosing, a scowl drawn on his face as if with charcoal pencil and rush detailing. In those moments, fleeting like the newborn turtle from its earthen nest, I wondered what to do now that the shackles had fallen from my wrists, leaving the imprint of his life stolen where they once were. I had bargained with the devil, earned my freedom in exchange for an unspeakable deed, but not considered the consequences. What would they be? Would I be understood? Suddenly, I couldn't look away from his eyes. They dragged me in like an arm emerging from the deadliest quicksand, slow and dreary, a wide dread blooming deep within my chest. He wore the expression I had seen many times, washed and reused. Instinctually, I feared for my life. He was dead now, I reminded myself. He cannot hurt you any longer. Another lie? Perhaps the greatest hurt from this odious man who now lies dead before me was yet to come. Would it be from him, I wondered, or from myself? His eyes, why couldn't I look away? He twitched. There was then a need for air, as all in my throat was sucked away, stolen as my vision blurred. My heart sped, whirlwinds dancing through me. My fingers trembled around my wrist as I rubbed anxiously, the thin hairs of my body stabbing into me with fright. Had I just seen what I had thought I'd seen? It was impossible, I reasoned. He twitched again. His eyes bore into me. His hand lurched as a sudden groan escaped his pale lips. My soul dropped. The world turned mute. I couldn't feel the air around me as it had frozen along with time. The impossible had come true. He was alive. Thank you all so much. I hope you enjoyed it.
Thank you, Ethan. What a lovely turn at the end. So great. So Ethan has this really lovely ability to capture such horror and drama. And he really leans into it. It's something I really appreciate. Thank you so much, Ethan, especially for joining us, even though you aren't feeling well. Very, very tough of you. Okay, great. Next, we will have Willa whenever you're ready.
Down a small dark road, at a small dark house, in a small dark room, a tall man in a red coat with a red face stands in the corner. No one knows who he is, where he came from, or why he is here. Who is this tall red man? All the small children wonder. But no one knows. The tall red man in the red coat scoops up a small girl with long red hair. At first she feels calm, but then as he holds her tighter, she begins to feel panicked. Then panic turns to helplessness, and helplessness turns to hopelessness. Down the small dark road, at the small dark house, in the small dark room, the tall man in the red coat holds the red-haired, red-cheeked girl who kicks and screams for someone, anyone, to come and help her, but no one can hear her cries. Her hopelessness fills up her whole small body, and she feels that she might explode, but instead she falls unconscious and her limbs fall limp in the red man in the red coat's arms. He takes one step, but then he is gone. Mother, father, there's been a break-in, all the small children shout, but there is no one there to hear their cries. 2 hours later, down the small dark road at the small dark house, in the small dark room, the police finally arrive. Only one remains. A small girl with small dark black pigtails crouches, clutching a small dark teddy bear with a red bow tie in one hand and a small dark telephone with small dark red buttons on it in the other hand. The police take her to the police station. It is a small dark room with small red walls, small red windows, and a small red door. The small girl clutches her teddy bear tightly. When the police question her about what the man looked like, there's only one word that can come to her mind: red. Down a small road, at a small dark house, in a small dark room, a mother frantically searches for her children, but this time none remain. And that's it.
Great, Willa. I thought that was the ending because of its force, but I just wanted to be sure. Really excellent. Thank you so much for reading. I really liked how that piece leaned into repetition. It was, yeah, it added such a great energizing rhythm to it. Thank you. Great. Next we will hear from Freddie whenever you're ready.
Hi, I have 2 kind of page-long poems. So, okay. First poem is called Fall. Trees reach sharpened nails to a sharp sky. Sharp sun snaps branches into splinters of silence. Crunchy, echoing silence. Sharp silence. Lie in the emptiness and drown for an hour, darling. Let hollow light drip into your hollow bones. Fill your soul with nothing, but feel your soul still overflow, still lie, cold sun dripping from your eyes. You haven't cut your nails in months, and now you hold your hands out in front of you and watch. Blue bones bound to you bind you to a sky, an earth, an eerie feeling. Nails long, sharp, reach to a sky short, a sun short. The sun is already setting, the season is long, the days short. Lie for a while, let your blue bones find warmth in brown earth. There will be decaying, eating, rotten warmth, garlic breath warmth, and reach your hands to the sun. Let your nails scrape the sky, watch it all crack like ice. Poem 1. Poem 2 is called Seasonal. I see him staring at me with his eyes that are not his eyes. Every time I see him, he is different, and so I have sworn off loving him. And he spits out my name that is not my name with a smile. Is that supposed to mean something? Are you supposed to make me want to mean something? I'm supposed to write things, not speak them. Forgive me for forgetting to speak when you talk. I rush past your words, and I can't blame you for thinking I can't stand the sound of your voice. Maybe I can't. It's safer when you don't speak and my heart doesn't race. And every time I see you, I can't think of you, but every time I think of something else, there you are with it. That's what you get for being good at everything. Are you scared? Are you scared of yourself? I am scared of you. Your eyes crunch into my soul and everything resonates as your lashes leave tracks and trails along every wrinkle of my mind, fall. But you are also summer, you are that warm sunshine laugh, so sticky, sweet, and stinging, I could choke on your honey. You are the ocean, you are the dunes, you are every grain of sand and every boulder, every droplet of water and every ripple and wave and splash and everything, God. Spring with you must be a blessing. I want to hear every bird chirping in your laugh. That cool breeze is in your eyes, but every sunbeam glows through your hair, and it's all there if I am. I forget to be there. Why do I have nothing to say? Why do I act like there is nothing I want to say? There is so much. There is all this. When I talk to you, words dribble from my mouth, and I feel wet and cold, fresh from the womb into a surgeon's hands. You are the surgeon. You are the snow and the fire and the smoke and the fizzle. How can I tell the snow I love it and hold the fire behind my back? That's what you get for being good at everything. When you talk to me, you spit out my name that is not my name, and I cannot tell if you are looking at me or me that is not me or something else altogether. How can you love me and love me that is not me all at once? That's what I get for trying to love you. Thank you.
So great, Freddie. One thing I was thinking about while you were reading that you do really well is you oscillate between these really pointed details, but also these sort of vaguer, like just simple I shouldn't say sentences, phrases like so much, all this, you are everything. And that just, it's just such a great sort of tension and point of comparison. And I don't know, I find it very, very thrilling. And it was great to hear your work out loud too. Excellent. Thank you. Great. Now we will go to Mia if you're ready. Yeah? Okay, great. Whenever.
Okay, so I have two poems from a collection. So the first one is called What's a Flag's True Worth? You haven't seen their gaunt white faces like I have, stricken with pain, or seen their hollow eyes staring back, already moved on to the next life. You haven't felt their frail, weak fingers trying to grasp my black cloak, gathering empty souls in the cold of my hands, or heard the screech of bombs falling out of the sky, a sound as if the devil himself was singing a lullaby. You haven't listened to their footsteps pounding on ground, a rhythmic march to eternal death, or listened to the rapid beating of their hearts, not loud enough to mask the sound of their fear. You haven't felt the cold shards of shrapnel littered like army ants all over the earth, or felt the pain in your chest as another body takes its last waking breath. You cannot understand the pain of eternal tears burning down my haggard face, a witness to another gold star placed in a window. You do not see loss as I see it, firsthand 40 million gone in the blink of an eye, all because of man's wants. You do not see war as I see it, endless nights and days working to retrieve the victims of power and greed. You cannot see the flag as I see it, waving in all its glory, pronouncing a victor, but at what price? And then my next poem is called For the Children. Nobody knows death as I do, feared by everyone and welcomed by only the most broken of souls. Taking men and women to the depths of their final resting place, and the children who, with their once rosy cheeks and small hands, longing to hold a ball or play with the golden locks of a doll. The children whose future shone bright before them, only to be destroyed by a fatal mistake or sickness that slithered up on them, snatching the light from their hearts. Only for the children do I bother to wear my softest cloak. Only for the children do I dare take care in carrying their souls gently in my hands of darkness. It's only for the children that make me detest what I do, forever creeping along the bear of pain and loss, cold and oh so blind. And that's it.
So great, Mia. Really, really excellent. I really like the turn that the first, I don't have time to mention everything I liked. I just want you all to know when I respond to your work, just keeping it succinct, but I really liked the turn the first one had, because we sort of understood where the speaker was coming from, but then for the speaker to directly tell us and pose the question to us, I thought that directness was really, really effective. Great work. Okay, thank you. Next we have Sydney, whenever you're ready.
Okay. First I'm going to read a poem titled Slug Sweetheart. It rained earlier this morning. I can tell because of the heaviness in the air and how my shoes sink into the dirt as I step outside, and how the flowers in the garden are dripping dewdrops. I don't mind the mugginess though, so I've no reservations as I step through the mire towards the garden. This garden I tend for you alone, for there is not much to love about it. Slugs crawl on my arms and legs while I choose which spider to save, hanging in between stalks and stems, and worms squirm underfoot, desperate for air after the downpour. So when the moon rises and I return home to you, please don't mind my mud-stained smile and the bent flowers and the bugs that have made themselves right at home on my dress. Okay. Now I am going to read a piece titled Finale. Okay. Who would have known that the end would be so beautiful? Though I know that those words shouldn't shock me, an awestruck laugh escapes from my lips anyways. Of course, even during the end of the world, could you see the beauty in it? You raise a finger, pointing to the sky beyond us. See? I raise my head to look at it. The ending to this story is in the distance, rapidly approaching. It's true, though, it really is stunning in its own terrible way. Colors swirl together in an awful dance, blues more brilliant than the ocean, reds that set the sky ablaze, and spectral, haunting purples in between, all joined together. It's mesmerizing and terrifying, lovely and cruel. We lay in a pool of our own blood, alone at the edge of what's left of this world, helpless. The end is coming. Are you scared? You ask, your voice small amidst the chaos. Yes, I bring myself to look away from it, and I meet your gaze. But it's not like there's much we can do now, is there? I guess not. The end leaves a faint warmth on my skin. Something about it is strangely comforting as my vision begins to blur and the lights become brighter, blending together like a work of art. I want to move, to do something, but cannot bring myself to do anything at all. I shiver despite the rising temperatures. The end is coming. What about you? Are you scared? I ask. Of course I am, but I guess I find some comfort in knowing that we did everything we could. We did our best, right? Right. I begin to feel as though I am a light. The warmth has become unbearable. My vision starts to fade. The light's unrelenting dance grows faster and faster. The end hangs over us, both inviting and taunting. For a moment, I do not know whether or not to reach for its cold, outstretched hand. I'm not ready, you say. For the first time, there's a tremor in your voice. I shake my head and rip my gaze away from the sky. Though the air is impossibly heavy, and though my body is numb, and though I can barely make you out amongst the ashes of our demise, I turn to you. Me neither, but at least it's beautiful, right? I take your bloodied, trembling hands in mine. Yes, the end is here, but for as long as I'm with you, I know that I will be okay. Thank you.
So great, Sydney. Both pieces were really beautiful. Such a lyrical way with your prose. I really enjoyed the vividness and sense of place in the first one. I really felt like I was there in that moment. Really, really, really great. Okay. Yes. Beautiful. All caps. Thank you. Next, let's hear from Zoe whenever you're ready.
Okay. Mine's really short. So, yeah. Okay.
Short and sweet is great. No problem.
Then all was silent. I looked up at the other team's coach. She was jumping up and down and laughing. I looked behind me at the goalie. He looked at me in shame just before he hung his head. I looked at the player on my side. He looked sad, but I kicked it, I thought as I glanced down. The toe of my cleat was on the ground. As I lifted my foot, I realized where my toe had been, there was now a dent on the turf. I looked ahead to my teammates in front of me. Disappointment was written on their faces. My gaze shifted to my coach, and we made eye contact. There was no light in his eyes. There was nothing but pure anger. His fists were clenched as he said something to the other coach. I couldn't catch everything, but I heard one word: broken. It felt like someone had pulled the turf out from underneath me. My heart was in my throat. I was fighting back tears. Broken, that's what I was. I thought I just needed practice or a better opportunity, but no, I was just broken. Nothing else. I wasn't even part of this team. I was just another obstacle in their way. I was the one getting them yelled at by coach. I was the one letting the other team win. My coach called me over, and I took a deep breath as I walked across the field. Yeah,
Really great, Zoe. Thank you. One thing I think that piece, among other things, did so successfully was writing choreography and body movement. It's actually, I would say, like one of the hardest things to do well in prose, and that's why people often avoid it. So we're like, where are we in space and time? Where are the bodies? What is going on? But I felt so inhabited in that scene because you were just precise enough, and it was just enough to let us know what was happening, but not too much that we like slowed down and we're getting every micro movement. So really excellent work. Great. Thank you for sharing. Next, we will hear from Jorja whenever you're ready.
Okay, so I am going to be reading a poem and a short piece of prose. Happiness is quiet. It's sitting in the living room with your family. It's reading. It's going to the library. Happiness is lemonade. It's movies from your childhood. It's morning coffee. It's your cat. Happiness is your best friend's house and a text and complaining together. Happiness is a thrift store outfit. It's laughing with your friends in a Goodwill. Happiness is I love you and are you okay? Happiness is volunteering and 90s teen shows and documentaries on childhood heroes. Happiness is stickers and cute outfits and compliments and cooking with your mom. Happiness is little moments. Happiness is quiet. And then the second piece I am reading is The Cottage. One day, a young girl woke up, not in her bed, but in a forest, a beautiful forest with tall trees and blue-green leaves and a path illuminating the ground. The girl wasn't sure what to do, so she started walking the path. It was soft, glowing slightly green. She was confused, but kept walking the path until it ended. At the end of the path was a cottage, a small one, cream in color, with a little garden in the front. She wasn't sure what to do, so she knocked. 3 quick taps to the solid wood door. No one answered. No one answered, but the door opened on its own, and the girl was confused and tired and cold, so she went in. This was her biggest mistake. Hello, is anyone here? No one answered. The cottage was nice, a cute living area, a large stocked kitchen, and a bathroom on the first floor. The second floor consisted of a bedroom. The house was fully furnished, the food still fresh, and most shockingly, the dresser was filled with clothes that fit her exactly. After trying them all on, she folded them carefully and returned them to the drawer. The girl walked downstairs, about to leave, but she was quite hungry and there was all that food in the kitchen, sure to go bad if she didn't eat it. And she didn't want that, of course, so she made her way back to the kitchen. She prepared a platter of fruit, fresh bread, and cheese. She sat and ate, spilling juice from a plum onto her clothes. So she went upstairs and changed into a white knee-length nightgown with a matching hair ribbon. And she decided at that point she may as well do her makeup. It was getting late, so she decided to go to bed. One night in the cottage couldn't hurt. As she lay in bed, she thought of the portraits on the bedroom wall opposite the bed. They were of various people, quite artistic. but there was something off about them. They were all dull and dead-eyed. As she fell asleep, she heard a dull hum. It was quite soothing, though she wasn't sure where it was coming from. She awoke the next morning, meaning to leave that day. She packed some food for the trip and was about to leave. Only it would be quite rude to the cottage to leave the mess. So she cleaned the whole place, even tending to the flowers outside. By the time she was done, it was quite late. One more night won't hurt, she said, and went off to bed. The next morning she meant to leave, and the morning after that, and the morning after that. Each morning she meant to leave, each night she didn't. Eventually, she forgot she ever meant to leave at all.
So great. What a powerful ending. Really enjoyed that. And I liked the range and the pieces that were shared. I just to pinpoint one thing as I've been doing, I love the line happiness is your cat. I just felt like there was such a great rhythm to that. And I loved the message of it too, the quiet moments. Really, really great, Jorja. Thank you for sharing. Next, we will hear from Lincoln whenever he's ready.
Okay, so my rating is a little bit different than all the other people so far. Is not as dramatic. I write comedy, so it's gonna be very different. Okay, this one is called pen tapping. John Sidewalk sits at his desk, his pen tapping on said desk. John's coworkers absolutely despised him for tapping on his desk and tapping on his desk alone. Otherwise, he was a rather swell guy, but he became the most hated in the office solely when tapping his pen. People would falsely report him to HR to try and get him fired. People had broken his pens to get him to stop, but he always had another. People had broken his desk, but he always found something else to tap his pen on. He somehow didn't know people hated him. People would attack him or yell at him, and he was still oblivious to their resentment. Even the boss hated him, but the guy was incredible at his job. He was the best yarn salesman in the world. His boss, Dirk Tongs, would attack John all the time. He would throw shards of glass at him and kick him with steel-toed boots on. John had lost 12 teeth because of steel-toed attacks, but John just thought Mr. Tongs was messing around, goof, if you will. Dirk Tongs would beat him and yell at him all the time. He wouldn't let John get fatally injured, though. He accounted for 98% of the company's profit. That isn't to say he wouldn't think about it. Sometimes when he heard that incessant tapping, he would imagine himself doing some horrible things. One day, John came into work and didn't tap his pen a single time. His coworkers waited and waited for him to pull out his pen and start tapping. Everyone in the office was hovering around his desk, ready to attack him if he tapped his pen on his desk a single time, but he never did. At 5, he left without tapping his pen at all. Everybody celebrated. The cheers could be heard from a dozen blocks away. They went one whole day without hearing that ceaseless, unabating tapping. The next day went very differently. The day before, he gave them hope. When John walked in, pen in hand, and painfully smacked his pen to his desk, it was crushed. Screams erupted that morning. We're not quite sure what happened, but we know that John never tapped his pen in his desk again.
I was like waiting for another one, but we only get one. Dang it. Okay. Lincoln, so great. I just, one thing I was saying earlier in workshop is there is only so much on a craft level I can teach, but there are certain things like voice and humor and timing that I think, yeah, sure, you can sharpen your ability to do that, but Lincoln has this really insane talent for it, and it's always so funny. And I think it was Freddie who earlier said, I always know when it's a piece that Lincoln wrote, which is great. It's so distinct, and the scenarios that Lincoln comes up with are always so original and such great fodder for drama. I would argue drama. Comedy can be drama. Great, thank you. Next, we will hear from Alanna whenever ready.
So this is a part of the first chapter of a book I've been working on. So, okay. And then she was dead. Oh, how we will all mourn her, Mallory sarcastically exclaimed as she giddily watched the cork pop off the top of the second wine bottle of the night. The small apartment kitchen that belonged to Mallory was littered with a variety of empty plastic cups and neglected cooking pans, now only dusted with crumbs. The sink was filled with mucky water that was once used to rinse off dishes in the beginning of the night, when everyone cared about cleaning up after themselves. Now, however, most of us barely cared to keep ourselves standing upright. I was sitting on top of one of the counters, lightly knocking my sock-covered heels on the bottom of the cabinets painted in cheap white paint the landlord used to cover up scuffs from the previous owners. This was originally a small, friendly New Year's gathering of work friends who I'd only met a few weeks ago when I applied for a small newspaper company. It still was, technically, but Noah, the technical writer, was being a little too friendly. He was slumped next to me, stirring his drink with his middle finger as he stared at the wall facing us. He was too close, but he looked too heavy to move, and even though my butt was going numb, I couldn't find energy to move. Rude remarks bubbled in my throat, but I swallowed them down. I agreed to be here in the first place to make a good impression rather than be my usual self. How'd she die, though? Toya, our photographer, asked. She poured the fresh red wine into Mallory's outstretched wine glass. They had waited the entire night to drink the bottles, as most of the wine had already been brought was box wine. We were all paid a little more than minimum wage, and because we were all weighed down with student debt, the two bottles Mallory snagged at Harris Teeter on impulse was a delicacy. Electric chair. She asked to be poisoned, but Mallory responded, making a loud zapping sound as if she pretended to be electrocuted. Wine sloshed out of her glass, soaking her socks, but she didn't seem to mind. She brought the glass up to her lips, her upper body crouched around it like a predator hiding its prey. Although she was still standing, she was slumped against one of the kitchen counters, elbows resting behind her. I was told by other colleagues that they did this often, hang out together, drink, and recount true crime stories. All of them were true crime fanatics, and while I had never found it all that interesting before, Mallory was at least an entertaining storyteller. We should do icebreakers, Noah said, eyes blinking slowly as he rolled his shoulders back as if to wake himself up. That's stupid, Toya muttered, staring down into her own glass that was filled with some type of alcohol. Due to the array of bottles and stash of empty beer cans that laid across the floor, it could quite literally be anything. Not with Montana here, though. Noah patted my thigh for a few quick seconds, staring at me as if I had just appeared in front of him. Mallory, Noah, and Toya had all been friends for years, meeting each other in college or maybe at the newspaper company. I don't really remember, as none of them had the best memory, but they all liked to make things up to sound more interesting, or to piss one of them off. It was a 50-50. All right, Toya mumbled, waving a hand as if to shoo the brewing argument away. You ask him something first. Toya didn't seem to like me all that much. She only talked to me if she needed to, and always referred to me when I was in the room instead of directly talking to me. It was weird, but I wasn't looking to make friends with her either. Okay, so, Montana, where are you from? He asked me, eyes brightening in anticipation. I had answered this question multiple times before, but I silently thanked him for going for a normal question. Virginia, I said, taking a forced sip of the red wine sitting at the bottom of my glass. I hated the taste of red wine, but I didn't want to ask for anything stronger. I was taking a taxi home, so I wouldn't be driving, but being impaired with a group of people I vaguely knew didn't sit right with me. Yeah, well, you already said that before. What city? He asked. I huffed, slumping even further into cabinets behind me. It was much past the time I said I was going to leave, and I was tired. From being up so late or from dealing with the three of them, I couldn't tell. Come on, man, give me something interesting. This is supposed to be an icebreaker, not a resume. Noah begged when he realized I wasn't going to answer him. I stared at him for a few seconds before speaking. Okay. I once met the president of Thailand at a carnival, and I got a picture with him. Really? No, I just wanted to see how gullible you are, dude. Mallory giggled into her cup as Toya snorted, chuckling behind her hand. Oh, I think I like the new boy here. He's funnier than you, Mallory slurred, absent-mindedly gnawing on the rim of the plastic cup she switched out for her wine glass sometime in the moments I wasn't paying attention. Noah rolled his eyes, his face flushed red as he tried to look unbothered. Go to hell, Mallory, he muttered, taking a gulp of his drink and smacking his lips. You got any family? Mallory asked, ignoring Noah's retort. She twisted a few purple strands of her dyed hair between her fingers as she looked at me, waiting for an answer. Yeah, I do, I said, taking a brazen gulp of the burning alcohol before continuing. I wasn't one to use alcohol as liquid confidence, but it was rather late It was rather late at night, and I wouldn't be able to talk about my family with composure any other way. A mom and a brother. Pretty sure my mom has a dog now. Oh, you got any pictures? Mallory asked, craning her head away from her cup and towards me, even though she was across the kitchen. Oh, no, I said, waving my hand. I've never even seen the dog before. She got it recently. Mallory slumped back into herself, although she set her drink down onto the counter instead of taking another sip of it. You visit your family often? Noah asked, gnawing on his lower bottom lip. He seemed to do that a lot when he was nervous about what he was saying. His drink was sat on the counter next to him now, too. He just moved here a few weeks ago, Noah, Toya snapped. Her eyes now narrowed as she looked at me. I wanted to ask her what I did to make her so mad at me. Hell should I know? Dude never talks to us. I don't even know what his favorite color is, Noah complained. I tried to understand why you would ever need to know your coworker's favorite color, but came up with nothing. Toya and Mallory seemed to find a good reason for it, though, because they both nodded in understanding.
So great, Alanna. Like, such incredible scene work. And I can really tell that this is a longer project because I feel like you intimately know these people and there was such an authority to it. And the dynamic was really excellent. Thank you so much. Really well done. Great. Okay. Yes, real. That is exactly what I was gonna say. There's a realism there because it's just they're so authoritative. It feels like, okay, know these people, what the stakes are, what's going to happen. I want to read more or hear more. Great. And we are actually at our final reader, Jordyn. So after Jordyn finishes those who are in my class, not the guests, do you have the link from earlier? So we'll just rejoin. I'll give you like 5 minutes and then we'll just wrap up. But Jordyn, whenever you're ready, go for it.
Hi, I have 4 poems, though 2
Great.
of them are quite short, and then the last one is more like poetic prose. Okay, the first one's titled Earth. I wasn't born to live in a sea of trash. I wasn't born to choke on perpetual smog. I wasn't born to watch my brothers and sisters die from this strange black substance called oil. I wasn't born to see darkness swallow all the stars in the sky. I wasn't born to see humans abuse the earth, acting like there's dozens of planets to replace the beautiful greens and blues of meadows laced in flowers that are now withering. I think I'm becoming colorblind because the only colors around me are muddy browns and blacks. The bright white of mountain peaks has been replaced by the chalky plastic bags strangling me. And aren't they lucky enough to outlive me? And then the next one is titled Leaves. You admire me from afar, but never come close. You only like me because I'm pretty. I soon become dull and brittle. I crumble to the dust. I scatter in the wind. I fall. Now I lay with the rotten fruits and broken memories that litter the frostbitten ground. People trod on me. I don't feel it anymore. No one remembers that I was pretty. You say you love me, but never tell me why. You only like me because I'm there. My silent tears stain the silver branches. You think I'll come back next year. You think you can admire me another time. My time is up. I smile at the sun for the last time. I sing myself to sleep. I disappear. No one remembers that I was there. Yeah. The next one is titled BFF. I have a best friend. She's always around. She cries when I'm angry and joins in when I laugh. We share the same hopes and dreams, the same secrets. She's the only one who understands. She hates me though sometimes. My best friend prods at me, calls me worthless. How does she know all my insecurities? But I'll always love her. Too bad I only see her for a little while, only when I look in the mirror. Yeah. And then the final poem is titled Wildflower. When I saw you in that casket, for 1 second, I thought that you could see me too, even though your eyes were closed. But your ears were still open to the murmurs and sobs echoing about, drilling into my skull. I ran out of tears a long time ago. 2 ancient aqueducts run dry. But then I realized that the golden flecks in your eyes were hidden forever. The director told me that lifeless eyes have a hazy film, like you're looking at a distant galaxy with a broken telescope. I convinced you to go stargazing once, but you didn't like it. You said that you wanted your feet to stay planted on the earth forever. I guess your wish was granted. That day you plucked a flower and gave it to me, saying that I was a wildflower in a field of roses. Nobody's mourning your corny pickup lines, if you were wondering. Despite what you said, I'll always be a rose, but you gave me the most beautiful thorns that keep everyone from coming too close. Ghosts of their touch graze my shoulder while I stare at your galaxy eyes for hours, for days maybe. I kept that flower, by the way, pressed in a copy of Wuthering Heights, that one book that we both hated reading in 10th grade. The only thing I remember is Heathcliff, haunted by his lover's ghost. If you haunt me, promise me this. Promise me that you'll replace the gold in your eyes with pieces of the sun. Promise me that you'll give stargazing one more chance. Promise me that you'll take this wildflower back. That's right, I'm throwing it back in your stupid, peaceful face. It didn't last very long. Nothing good ever does. I watched tendrils of death snake around its stem, its leaves, and then up into its petals. I could have ripped it apart a while ago, watched it crumble to a fine dust like it never existed. Maybe the earth would have embraced it like a brother long lost. Maybe the wind would have claimed it, sending the dust off to the heavens. But I didn't destroy it as much as I wanted to. I saved it just for today. No one will notice one dried flower amongst bouquets of vibrancy, one dead thing on top of another. Now I can walk away and never look back. From now on, I'll only look up at the stars. Yeah. Thank you.
So great. Thank you so much, Jordyn. There was so much to admire there. I really liked the blend between high and low. Like there was this really high poetic language with a lot of lyricism and richness and floridness, but then we also had like no one is the line I'm going to paraphrase, and I know Jordyn said it better in her poem, but like no one is mourning your corny pickup lines. And it's really, really exceptional when a piece of poetry or prose can do both. And I think those operating in both of those registers of like humor and lightness and familiarity, and also the language that's maybe denser and more what we would expect when we come to a poem is such a fun space to investigate. So really good work. Yeah, depths and layers, excellent. You all did such a great job. Thank you to those who joined us and watched. This was recorded, so I will be sure to share that link when I have it available in case you want to go back and replay your reading. Yeah, so thank you to our audience. For the rest of you, you're still stuck with me for another 30 minutes. So I'll give you all, like 7 minutes to have a quick break, and then I will see you back in the room with the link I shared with you this morning, that new link. I know a lot of links floating around today. I apologize. It's this awful new world that I hope, yeah, anyway, I'll leave it at that. On a positive note, thank you all. Exceptional reading, exceptional writing, as always. So lucky to be your teacher, and I'll see you soon. Bye.